If you or someone you know is a victim of human trafficking, call the National Human Trafficking Hotline at 1-888-373-7888.
Like Hello and welcome to episode 20 of the Kansas Missing and Unsolved podcast. I am your host, Ricky Chabruggi, and joining me tonight is the other half of the Sprout and Dusty show, Dusty Grant. How are you doing tonight, Dusty?
I'm doing well, Ricky. How are you, man?
Doing pretty good. We had Sprout on last week and talked about your guys' channel a little bit last week, and I'm going to kind of zero in on your music a little bit. I hear you're a musician as well, and what kind of a genre of music are you doing right now?
Right now, I'm working mostly on my solo stuff. It's an acoustic rock type project. I do some, a little bit more intricate production with that stuff. But that's kind of the direction I'm heading. I'm writing a lot of my own music, playing a lot of solo acoustic gigs. Every once in a while, I have some friends that accompany me. I'm going to be working on some collaborations here coming up soon as well. But yeah, for the most part, it's been the acoustic singer songwriter has kind of been the path that I've been on for around the last 2 years or so.
Awesome. Before the show, I gave a listen to your song, "The Jester." That was a pretty good song, and
Thank you.
Checked it out on YouTube. So if you guys want to check it out, look for Dusty Grant on YouTube, and you can check out his tunes there. I'm going to make sure we mention you have a Facebook page for your music too.
Yeah, you can find me everywhere.
Okay.
The best place to find me is probably my website. It's www.dustygrant.com. It's got links to all my social media. So if you do want to find me, or you can find me on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook at DustyGrant57. I'm on everything. So if you search me, you should be able to find me.
Awesome. Well, it's good to have you aboard tonight.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Are we ready to get into some cases?
Yes, sir.
The National Runaway Safe Line is here to listen and here to help. Speak to someone specifically trained in crisis prevention who won't tell you what to do. Join a forum where you can post your questions, thoughts, or concerns about what it is like to be a teenager or a parent. If there is something you have been wondering about, please ask, because chances are there are a lot of other people wondering the same thing. Remember, you are not alone. Go online to 1-800-runaway.org or call 1-800-789-2626.
Our first case is an unsolved homicide. Rodney Tyron Jennings II of Topeka, Kansas, July 1st, 2008. Rodney Tyron Jennings II was at his girlfriend's house on July 1st, 2008 in the 1400 block of Southeast 10th Street in Topeka, Kansas. Rodney went outside to retrieve some cigarettes at 2:30 a.m. His girlfriend heard two loud bangs. When she looked out, she saw him laying in the grass. Rodney was struck by 2 bullets, one in the head and one in the leg. Rodney died later at the hospital. Rodney was only 21 years old at the time of his death. If you have any information regarding Rodney's death, please call the Topeka, Kansas Police Department at 785-368-9125 or 785-368-9551. Or call Topeka, Shawnee County, Kansas Crime Stoppers at 785-234-0007. You will remain anonymous.
Okay, moving on to our next case is another unsolved homicide, and we've actually covered this case on a prior show. Suzanne Johnson from Elkhart, Kansas. We had to make some corrections to the date on the flyer. She was reported missing from her home in Elkhart, Kansas on March 4th, 1971. Suzanne's partially disrobed body was found 15 days later on March 19th, 1971, northwest of Elkhart by a volunteer searcher about 30 minutes after a large-scale search was launched to look for clues in her disappearance. Suzanne's murder remains unsolved. If you have any information regarding Suzanne's death, please call the KBI at 1-800-572-7463.
Okay, up next is an unsolved missing persons case. Marilyn Carter is missing from Overland Park, Kansas. She's been missing since August 2nd, 2020, age 36, height 5'8", weight 130 pounds, hair brown, eyes green. Marilyn Carter went missing from Overland Park, Kansas on August 2nd, 2020. Mary Lane has been desiring to receive psychiatric help. She has not been seen since Saturday evening, August 1st, and has not been heard from since Sunday evening, August 2nd. Mary Lane was last heard from in the Memphis, Tennessee area. She was on her way to Birmingham, Alabama. She was driving her 2011 dark gray GMC Acadia with Kansas license plate 194LFY. Mary Lane is 36 years old. She is 5 foot 8 inches tall and weighs 130 pounds. She has brown hair and green eyes. If you have any information regarding Mary Lane's disappearance, or you know of her whereabouts, or you see her car, please call the Overland Park, Kansas Police Department at 913-895-6300 or the KBI at 785-296-4017 or your local law enforcement agency.
And I was just checking into some recent developments on Mary Lane's case, and the latest on it is they're moving the search for her to the Mississippi River. It says here that, of course, she left August for Birmingham, where she was to get some psychiatric help for some mental health concerns. She left around 8 p.m. that evening. Let's see. West Plains, Missouri hotel provided police with surveillance video showing her checking in at 3 a.m. following morning. Family said she stayed there about 3 hours and hit the road again until she drove near Memphis. Last time Mary Lane spoke with her husband and mother on the phone, and the last time investigators pinged her cell, she was near the Arkansas-Tennessee border, a couple miles from the Mississippi River. Police have searched the land, but her family is now asking for help as the search moves into the water. A quote from the family: we need people to have a boat and very good sonars and experience navigating the Mississippi River, Adam Carter said. That would be a help to us as we're attempting to rule out the worst possible case scenario of the river and that area.
But they haven't found her vehicle or anything.
Not yet. So it's almost sounding like maybe they're leaning towards maybe she may have accidentally drove into the river somewhere, maybe. I don't know.
Wow.
That's kind of what it sounds like a little bit, but I'm not for sure.
It's an interesting turn on this case, I guess, huh?
Yeah. Yeah, and again, if anybody does have any information, don't hesitate to call the Overland Park Police Department at 913-895-6300 or the KBI at 785-296-4017 or your local law enforcement agency if you're like in the Arkansas area, Tennessee area, around the areas where they're looking. Please turn in, even if it's just a small little tidbit. You never know just how big that little tidbit may be for investigators. So please don't hesitate to turn that in. And hopefully she is found soon, and hopefully she's found safe. Hopefully it's not, the worst case scenario.
Absolutely. Sounds like there's still hope that it could be that too. It hasn't been that long, and it doesn't seem that ominous that there's evidence of any foul play there. Maybe she's just holed up somewhere. Yeah,
let's just hope that's the case, is that she's just holed up somewhere.
Our next case is another missing person. This is Lipsy Mendoza of Olathe, Kansas. She's been missing since August 1st, 2020. She is 17 years old. She's 5 feet 4 inches tall. She weighs 120 pounds. She has black hair and brown eyes. Lipsy Mendoza is a missing endangered runaway from Olathe, Kansas on August 1st, 2020. It's believed that Lipsy may be in either Topeka or Wichita, Kansas. Lipsy is 17 years old. She's 5 foot tall and weighs 120 pounds. She has black hair and brown eyes. If you have any information regarding Lipsy's disappearance or you know of her whereabouts, please call the Olathe, Kansas Police Department at 913-782-0720 or the KBI, Kansas Bureau of Investigation at 785-296-4017.
Okay. And moving on to our next case, which is actually a pretty big update on a Jane Doe case here in Kansas. January 25th, 1986, the body of an unknown female was found 11 miles west of Salina, Kansas, in a creek. She had been badly beaten. She was partially clothed and thrown over a guardrail into the creek below. And The cause of death was actually determined to be drowning, so the beating and being thrown over the guardrail down into the creek didn't kill her. She actually drowned in that creek.
Oh, man.
And she's been an unidentified Jane Doe for the last 34 and a half years. And last July, they exhumed her body to extract DNA to try to match to at what they believed at that time was one of two women from Belgium. And back in February, I believe it was, they hit a familial match. And then they later confirmed with dental records the identity of Miss Molly, and Miss Molly's identity. Her identity is that of a woman from Los Angeles, California, named Robin Ann Green. She was 28 years old. She was the mother of four. She was married. From what we were told, she had family in Minnesota, and apparently was on her way back from visiting family from Minnesota when all this happened to her. The information that we were given at the press conference on Tuesday was that around the time that she was found, they had found a lot of unidentified bodies up in Minnesota, and recently they were asking people, if you have a family member that went missing in Minnesota, to submit DNA so we can compare them to these Jane and John Does to see if we can make a match here, with one of them. And so during the time, they entered Miss Molly's DNA into the system. They hit a familial match from one of those samples submitted in Minnesota, and then they were able to get the dental record, trace it back to dental records, and then match her with dental records that it was Robin Ann Green. I'd started a Who is Miss Molly page back in 2012, and just last night I started revamping and updating it and renamed it Justice for Robin Ann Green to try to keep this case going and to hopefully generate some leads to find out who's responsible for what happened to her. As far as knowing whether or not the husband was involved, we'll probably never know whether he was involved or not, as he died back in 2007. So if he was, or if he knew who was involved, he obviously took that to the grave with him. So I'm just really hoping that like I say, now that we know who she is, now the next big step is finding out who did this to her and bringing them to justice. And, even though it's been 34 and a half years, I still think it can be done, with the right information. I really do.
Yeah, and if you've got to think that having an identity of the person now might make it a little bit easier in case someone did come across her or remembers her name being around the area. Maybe there's a ray of sunshine there to hopefully bring these guys to justice, because obviously what they did was terrible.
Definitely. I would encourage anybody that does have any information to contact the Saline County Sheriff's Department here in Salina. And I'm going to get a phone number here. I should have looked it up prior to the show, but I didn't.
A lot going on.
But I will have it. It's 785-826-6500, or call KBI at 1-800-572-7463. And, give them any information that you may have that may help lead them in the direction of finding out who is responsible for Robin's death, and to bring them to justice, because that's what needs to be done now, and I hope it does happen. I hope it does. It needs to happen.
Agreed.
Okay, and that wraps another show up for us this week. Again, I'd like to thank Dusty Graham from the Sprout and Dusty Show for dropping by and helping us out this week.
Thank you for having me on, Ricky. I appreciate it.
You're very welcome. It's my pleasure to have you here. Kind of remind the folks again when the Sprout and Dusty Show airs again.
The Sprout and Dusty Show airs every Friday night at 7:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. We're actually off this week and next week, and then we pick back up the following week after that. But yeah, we usually run our show every Friday. For those that do want to check out the podcast, you can find us on our YouTube channel. You can find us on Spotify, Spreaker, basically anywhere you find podcasts. Just search for the Sprout and Dusty Show, and you should be able to find us.
Oh, good deal. And remind everybody again, if they want to check out your music, where are you located for your music at? You said just about everywhere.
Pretty much everywhere, yeah. Spotify, any streaming service you could be looking for, any Amazon, iTunes, YouTube. I've got my music up everywhere. You can find me on pretty much any platform that you can find digital music. You can find my stuff there.
Awesome. And if any guys want to check out any of the back episodes for the Sprout and Dusty Show, you can go to backhomemedia.com and you can find all their back episodes there, as well as a bunch of other shows on backhomemedia.com, as well as the past episodes of Kansas Missing and Unsolved Pod you can find there as well. If you want to start your own podcast, get a hold of Back Home Media. They'll be glad to help you get started with that. If you want to help support the show, you can go to patreon.com/KMUpod, and you can support us through there. We'd be greatly appreciative if you did. Just want to thank everybody again for joining us, and everybody have a good night. Take care and God bless, and we will see you next week for episode 21.
Thanks, Ricky.
You're welcome.
Well, I don't think and I thought it, that's different. I said what I said and I meant it, or lamented. Words given weight without thought, and I'm cursing the way that I talk and the way that I ought to be able to pause and to say that the fault can be placed on my arm, to display for assault, to disgrace in this arm. Pray for the day they could wait for the calm. You can't control the storm, only weather it, whether it's 5 weeks and 5 days of rain sideways, or scorched earth, search for death, or water left with all the thorns, with the petals gone, settle on the breath of autumn. If the ground fits, wear it, the crown